Preview time, Footy and Frothies, Daggy and Barney with you again. We've got round 13 to look at. We've got big ins and outs for a few teams with Origin camp on this week. Makes some interesting reading. Do we have what's going on, Barn? What's got your eye this week?
Oh, we're going straight up with the frothing floors.
No,
I've
I'm
really
not. No, it's just a general chat. No, do it later.
just a general conversation. Right, I'm not really good at those.
All right, cool. We kick off round 13.
If you want some wonderful hats and beanies and
how do we find
shirts
them?
and all the rest
Tell
of
us
it, go
how.
and hit rugbyleaguemerch.com. There's a whole heap of stuff there. You've got a bit of his own range as well, but there's a specific page there for footy and frothies. You get amongst that stuff. There's plenty of things to be perused and purchased at your own convenience.
Thank you, David. A fine plug. We've also got to plug PCTC, where Barney and I are running last and second last, so don't look at that. But there is a footy comp there. Have you got the stats in front of you?
It's a fantastic comp, though. We've got 70-odd people, 72 people, I'm pretty sure it is. Our lead is currently on 64 points, and we are a long, long way away from that, so I can tell you that for free. Let's go and find Gaz on the PCTC, find out exactly how the footy and frothies comp is going.
While you're doing that, of course, you can find them on Facebook and Instagram. There's free and paid comps. First prize for the footy comp, I believe, is in the vicinity of about $1,200. So that's quite good. Currently, a Winter Carnival Racing comp on. The spring's just around the corner, so that'll be coming up in end of August. It usually is, so not far away at all. Keep an eye on that. PCTC Punters Challenge tipping comps on social media.
A couple of people managed to jag 5 somehow this week, which is I ended up with 2 and yourself with 3 this week. But the leader of our comp, as I said, is Brett Tominich on 64 points. RAH 434 is the best of the footy and frothies competition. They are running 7th overall, but first in our comp on 61 points. Also have J-Dogs on 61, Action Bailey in 3rd on 60. And there's a clump of about 4 people that stretch over the next couple of points, including the wife and our friend Beaver. Then you have to head a long way down before you hit Dagstar, 67th overall on 48 points, and myself, 68th overall on 7 points.
Action had a good weekend, actually. He did well in the
5
in the racing as well. He had a solid weekend.
Really?
Yeah, so he's on board now.
I jumped out of this month's competition. I'll be back for the
That's fair enough. Yeah, save it for the main event there. Anyway, we've got just quickly any Supercoach caught your eye, any players you want to hone in on at the moment during this period?
It's a really interesting one with only having to play your 13. So this is probably, if you got pretty close to 13 players or you've got 13 at the moment, I wouldn't really be bothering with any trades unless you're trying to get a bit of money into your team by offloading somebody or
it's a chance for a sneaky free boost if you really want to shuffle some money around. Is about it to me.
Yeah, absolutely. If you got your 13 players, I'd be trying to save your trades through this Origin period and really focusing on any injuries or complete lack of forms that you may have in and around your team. Someone like Ben Condon now looks like he may have a spot for 30 or 40 minutes up at the Cowboys, considering their lack of depth. Maybe worth, if you can get him cheap enough, maybe worth bringing into your team. Luciano, as we mentioned, looked quite good, but he's got a price drop in him, I would imagine, because he would have been priced very high coming up.
Yeah, he was
by the back end of Origin. He's somebody who you might be looking to get into your team if he drops 100, 150, 200k. Tommy's an interesting one now. He's pretty much, I don't think he's going to go any lower now. So time is the next 2 or 3 weeks to pick him up. You're going to have sit him out a couple of times during buys and the likes, but he's definitely someone that's on the radar for me over the next.
What are you doing with Nico? You worried about it?
Around. I'm not. I won't be moving Nico on. I think I'm just going to try and battle through and keep 12 or 13 players playing during those really big bye weeks of the Origin. Go-tos at the moment. Manly play the next 2 big bye rounds. Newcastle play the big bye rounds, and Parramatta play all 3. So they're probably teams that you'd be looking at. Guys that aren't quite the top echelon in those teams, but are putting in pretty good shifts each week.
Penasini.
To be bringing into your side. Hopgood now, obviously sold him at his peak price, and he's now dropped a fair bit. But if you're getting him back, he's now going to be tuning in for 60 to 80 minutes week after week, and we've seen that he can push out 100 when he does play those 80-minute games. So probably someone you'd be definitely looking to bring back in.
Not necessarily someone I'm suggesting rush out and buy, but we've seen Brad Arthur likes his middles playing those big minutes. Joffa last year was making big points, scoring big points, doing that last year. Hasn't been having those. His price has dropped because he's been coming off the bench for the Tigers, but I imagine he's going to be playing a good chunk of 50 minutes.
At least 40 to 50 minutes.
Yeah, so he's one to think about.
Absolutely.
And if you're worried about your fullbacks, Gutho's going to have that clear run. So
after this big round, so probably 2 weeks from now, teams like Warriors and the Sharks, I'm pretty sure, play the next 2 big bye rounds. Yeah. So looking at your blokes like Teague Wiltons, Brenton Nakoro, if you want to strengthen up an edge, they've been averaging pretty close to 70 for the entirety of the season. There's a couple of really good guys out of the Warriors. Noah Blake, obviously, is a big one.
Tohu's still a reasonable price around the 640.
Harris, absolutely. So, yeah, just trying to cherry pick in and out, have a really good look at the bye schedule and teams that are playing 2 out of the 3 weeks. Maybe budget takes 4 to 6 weeks.
Beautiful. Let's get into our preview. What do you make of, just quickly, the... I don't necessarily like the dumbing down of Supercoach with the 13. Part of the art of it is trying to nurse your way through these Origin games, but...
Yeah, and if you're able to have 17. I think part of that was guys that were coming in and creating a team to win the bye weeks of the...
just picking that, yeah.
The Origin rounds, you know what I mean? They create a team 2 weeks out from Origin and just buy as many of the informed players as they could and fill up a 17, where the guys that have been slogging it out through the entirety of the season can only put up 12 and 13 guys for those weekends. So I think that was part of the reason they went that way. The extra buy schedule, obviously, as well, rather than giving everybody an extra 6 to 10 trades and letting them sort of have a bit more flexibility around this time. Just tried to sort of keep as tight as they can, I think, through the Origin period. So
yeah, fair.
I would have preferred maybe 15. That gives you that little bit more, sort of makes it that little bit more important to try and field a few more players during this time of the year. Whereas if 13 seems a little easy to be able to close enough to 13 or 13 players.
I understand the logic behind that's what you field on a footy sheet, but yeah, it is what it is, and it just gets you out of it. And the other switch is they don't have to be in the position. So if you've got 7 outside backs,
players.
You've just got to name. You get scored points for all of them as long as they're in. Remember, they've got to be in your start.
They have to be reserved.
Your reserve or starting lineup. They're just going to default. Anyway, we kick off round 13. 5 games to look at. We've got the Dolphins and the Dragons up at Redcliffe. We're back to KO Stadium, where the hammer is out. Cody Nikorima moves to fullback. We've got Milford and Katoa, the halves combination. Ray Stone starts at 13. Wallace, the professor's back at 15. Mason Teague comes onto the bench, as does Valence Dewari. Now, the mail is that Branko Lee has been in a moon boot this week, so he could well start this week. In the centres,
guys that rushed out and got him early
may have a scoring opportunity. So he's probably the only decent, the only base player around at the moment that's worth, if you really want to strip out someone and sell him off. He may well start. Jack Bird is back for the Dragons after missing last week, but they've lost Sewer with a hamstring issue. Murdoch Masila starts. Jaden Sullivan starts because Ben Hunt's in the Queensland squad, and Michael Molo's back in for Blake Laurie and will start alongside brother Francis. So which one gets sent off first? Tune in to find out. Moses and Byes back. Yes, we know the answer, but and Byes back in the 14 role there. What are you doing? What are we going to do here?
I know the Dragons beat the Roosters last week, but as we said, that to mine, that shows more about how the Roosters are going than how the Dragons went on the weekend. Dolphins have been good and tough for the majority of the year. There's really not a lot of change to their team, minus Hamiso and Gilbert, was it?
Yep.
They've got
And
enough cover in
Lou
this
Maley
team.
and Stone are fine.
Yeah, I think the centers go a big way to deciding this matchup. I think obviously you've got the switch with Sully and Lomax proved dividends last week, but I think they're up for a tougher challenge than what they had thrown at them last week. This week, and the forwards and the forward rotation for mine, Dolphins win that contest hands down as long as they can keep themselves under control and not lose their head like they did last week. So I'm actually going to go with the Dolphins, and I think they'll run away with the late 13-plus victory. Jeremy Marshall-King to do what he's done for the majority of the year and just set up all the structure in the middle of the field, and you'll see the attack come off the back of him. And I'm tossing up between Sarko or Nikorima for first try scorer. Nikorima at fullback interests me, but I think it'd be more Sarko making the break and maybe get feeding it back to him to score. So I think I'll just stick with the Sarko. I really like what I saw last week, the way he was able to beat defenders at will at times. I think he's the first try scorer.
I think Dolphins are good things here, as you've said. I'm just taking that whole Dragons, Roosters, Cowboys form and just throwing it straight in the bin. And I think, and especially once you take Ben Hunt out of this game, it looks pretty easy for me to suggest. I think it's going to be, could well be 13 plus. I say Nikorima with that time and space at fullback is going to be man of the match. He's in red hot form, and I think he will get involved plenty here. First try score, I can see it being on that edge. I agree with you, so I'm going to agree with you and say Zarko first try. It's not him. I think it's you and Aitken. One of those two will score first. I imagine back to Redcliffe, a pretty comfy watch for all involved there. Combank Stadium hosts a one Friday night game with the Eels and the Cowboys in action. Parramatta welcome Joe Offengawe straight into the starting lineup with Paulo out. They are missing Madison and Davey, but Matt Doorey's back, and he was in a reasonable enough form before he went out. And Luca Moretti makes his NRL debut. Cowboys are missing Holmes, Tuolangi, Cotter, and Dearden. So Zach Labert comes into the centres. Robert Derby onto a wing. He was a big, strong boy in the trials. I think he has some ability. Ben Hampton, 5'8". Jake Granville is the new lock. Jason Tamalolo is on the extended bench there, so is a chance of coming back. And Griffin Neem is back onto the bench as well. Can't possibly, I don't think there's a bounce back factor here with their strike weapons leaving this side. I think Parramatta do a job here. I think it's going to be 13 plus. I think it's going to be a cosy watch. And I think the Parramatta halves could well run amok. Mitch Moses, we know when he gets really puts a foot down in games like this, he'll have 3 or 4 tries. I think he'll be man of the match. And we'll stick with the form card here. Bailey Simonson, another try backing up from his double last week, I think can do the job here again on the poor debutant. But there'll be tries aplenty. Maybe I've overlooked the obvious with Sivo just scoring the first at Combank, as he generally does.
Where I'm going.
Yeah.
You put the Cowboys in the bin with those outs that you mentioned. I'm not going anywhere near that bin to try and pull them out of there. They can stay in there. Yeah, just no for me for the Cowboys until they prove otherwise, which they've done once this year, I think, and then completely got annihilated the next week. So Eels 13 plus. I'm going with Brown. I'm going with the other half.
It's one of them.
Irresistible form for the last 3 or 4 weeks, probably the majority of the season, to be honest. And yeah, I really love the way he's playing footy at the moment. And yeah, I mentioned Sivo, debutant, just straight over the top of him. Some nice early ball. Might see Sivo score the first try at Combank.
Yeah, big challenge for the Cowboys this next few weeks. We're in McLean Park, Napier for the Warriors hosting Brisbane. Luke Metcalf makes his club debut at 5'8" after some sensational trials. Volkman goes to the extended bench. Jackson Ford's back too, so they're very good in. Freddie Lussick starts because Wade Egan is out after another head knock. Tristan Saylor makes his debut for the Broncos in first grade officially. Dean Mariner into the back line with their Origin representatives out. Palacia Jensen are the new props. Hetherington starts without Carrigan there, and Willison and Piacora come onto the bench. Reynolds is named. Hopefully his neck is okay because I've got a feeling they might need him, Barn.
He's going to have a lot of big New Zealand forwards running straight at him. So
Might not be the week for it.
100% because it's not. Whoever want to be coming back, if it's 50-50, I can guarantee you that. Mate, that patch job that they've done in the forwards could get absolutely blown off the park in this game, in my opinion. I think the Warriors coming off a bye, freshen up, massive forward pack have been doing the job week in, week out. They're a different team than we've seen for years and years, and I expect that to be up and going. You mentioned Metcalf. He was played a few bit roles at the Sharks and Manly in his way through, and most of the time he took the field, he looked electric at times, but most of the times he did a job at least. So I think they've been sweating on him to coming back, to be honest, to fill that sixth role. And I'm expecting a really good showing out of the Warriors. I'm going to go with the first try scorer to be Chance Nickel-Klokstad off the back of some of that hard work through the middle of the forwards for the Warriors. I'm going to go with the Warriors to blow this game away at the back end. And again, another 13-plus job in this game. And Sean Johnson's been close to their best player every week. And I'll go with man of the match for him in this one.
Beautiful. Yeah, I agree. Not much more to add here. Looking forward to seeing the Warriors get back on track. I think complete forward dominance. I'm going to say Jackson Ford, first try scorer coming in here, has been hitting some. He's worth a ticket every week because he just hit a real nice hole runner and will pop up off the back of a Johnson ball there. I'm going to go out there and say Luke Metcalf might have a debut to remember. I've been excited to see what he could bring after his trial form. Hopefully both his legs are working and yeah, let's see what he brings to the table because they're building an exciting team. If they get him, all of a sudden next year you got other news of the week was Chanel Harris-Tavita coming back, plus RTS looming. So exciting times to be a Warriors fan, I suppose.
That adds some spark.
Definitely. Main event Saturday is a core stadium where the Bunnies host the Raiders. Blake Taff takes over as fullback for the Bunnies. Campbell Graham's there. I assume will play despite his injury. But Richard Kenner has been named to cover. Keon Kolomatangi is mail around that he could be returning, but he's on the extended bench for now. And Liam Knight starts at lock. Shakai Mitchell and Tallis Duncan onto the bench. The Raiders lose Hudson Young and Elliot Whitehead. Huiranara comes in to start. In the back row, Taupane moves to lock and Solo to prop. Zach Wolford comes back and pushes Denny Levy out. Kotrick's back from injury and Matt Frawley is on an extended bench there. Are you giving the Raiders any hope?
Yeah, I think it'll be a very close game, to be honest. I think it'll come down to the last probably 15 or 20 minutes of this game. I think the Raiders will be a pest for a good hour. Cause South's enough problems to keep it close. There's a few outs for the South team, but I don't think it's enough to sway it to Canberra's way, to be honest. If they're smart, they'll give a lot of early ball to Campbell Graham out on that right-hand side, and they'll have Walker testing and stretching the other side of the field. And, it could end up being a blowout at the back end of the game if Souths are able to control the forward pack for the Raiders. But I just think they might have a slight edge there for probably that first hour of the game. And then Souths will score a few tries at the back end to win 1-12, could be 13 plus. Raiders could be. I have no idea what I'm talking about for tipping this year. Generally go all right, but this year has been the worst I've ever done in my entire career. Graham, first try scorer. I think if South's going to win, it'll be off the back of Walker. Cody Walker will have a big part to play. As I said, he's been in really good form for over a month now, and I expect it to continue.
Yeah, your analysis is right. I would be scared to see what they'll do if Latrell was playing, but without him, that takes a bit of that power and explosivity out of there. But I think Walker gets early ball to both. I think you're both sides of the field. I think Tass has been in just as good a form, and I'll go with him just to be different. First try scorer, but him and Graham could run amok with their footwork and strength on both these centres here. I agree. Cody Walker's going to be man of the match, and if those edges do start showing gaps, he's going to exploit each and every one of them and be man of the match. I'm going to go 13 plus. I think bounce back now. They've had two flattish weeks. I think they want to put on some points and get back on track. A bit of a longer break too with the 8 days there. 4 o'clock Sunday. Last game of the round is the Knights hosting the Seagulls at McDonald Jones. Lockie Miller's onto the bench. Ponga moves back to 5'8". Tyson Gamble rejoins the successful... back to fullback, sorry. Tyson Gamble rejoins, I guess, the combination they had at the start of the year, which had some success with Hastings. Adam Elliott starts at lock, and Jack Johns comes in for Frizzell. Seagulls have... named Cooper Johns at 7. Jake Arthur's on extended bench, but not playing. Schuster's here, but KO Weeks is at fullback. Sipley comes in for Jake Turbo. Sean Kepi goes to lock, and Fainu starts in the back row. Tui Palutu is on the bench at 14 for now. Look, what they produced the other day, Manly, was very, very impressive, but I just can't go past the record without DCE and Turbo in this team. While I think he was brilliant last week, I don't think he's quite ready, Schuster, to lead a team around the field, and it's what they'll need. So I'm going to go Knights. I think this could be a bludger of a game. Hopefully, Hastings and Gamble, the senior combination there, get the job done. I'm interested how they all link up, but more I think about this, I think what's going to happen is Lockie Miller will probably come in and float. Gamble go into hooker when Crossland has a break. I don't quite know how else you'd balance that. So I assume that's the way it's going to go. I'm actually going to go Jackson Hastings man of the match. I think getting his hands on plenty, being involved, and if it's a 4 tries plays 3 sort of situation, I think he'll be involved in most of them. First try scorer, I suppose Gay Guy's got a point to prove, so maybe he'll score first, getting over the top of one of those outside backs. But yeah, has a bit of a stink about Amazu. Hard to go wrong backing those 2 Newcastle wingers to score, isn't it? So probably the natural way to look. But what are you thinking? Tricky game.
I had Newcastle 1-12, but I really don't like tipping Newcastle. I haven't done for quite a while, and I've gone out of my way to actually find a way that Manly win this game. Big question marks around the kicking game. I don't know who controls this kicking game. For me, I think it goes to Croker now, to be honest. I think he's going to be doing a lot of kicking out of dummy half, maybe kicking early and trying to turn this Newcastle side around and play field position down in the corners. For mine, if Manly are to win, it's going to come through the likes of Schuster and Olakau'atu. I think Olakau'atu's been very quiet for the last probably month or so.
Probably played himself out of an Origin spot.
Bit of a point to prove, obviously, by playing himself out of that position in the Origin squad. And I'm going to back him for first try scorer and man of the match. I think he may just really pick someone to try and bully in this game. And if he can get across the line twice, that may be enough for the Manly side to get a win, him to get man of the match. And because Newcastle really, I do like the halves pairing for the Newcastle team, and I think they'll be much better in general play in and around the field, but I'm not sure, unless they find a weak link and target at one spot on the field, I'm not sure how many points they're going to score up against. I know they have scored points in different times this year, but just recently they've seemed very flat in the way that they've been attacking, and they haven't been able to produce a lot of points unless they're hitting them with those 2 wingers. So, I'm just going to go a bit out of the box, and I'm tipping Manly 1-2.
Hey, maybe you just play Lockie Miller dummy half and see if you can create something out of nothing. Yeah.
Create something out of there.
Yeah, anyway, do you need a
Newcastle
minute?
probably win, but I'm going for an upset.
You do, you boo. Do you need a minute for a bet, or you're
That's me. No, we'll go frothing for, and yeah, I'll need a minute or two.
All right. What's got you frothing?
Oh, it's all the new names, to be honest. Tristan Saylor and Metcalf in that game between the Warriors and the Broncos. I think that's something very exciting that you're going to see. Both of those players have a lot of skill, and I'd like to see how they fit into the games this weekend. Labert and Derby for the Cowboys. Labert's a bit of an unknown. Derby we've seen a little bit of, and I think they may have some flashes again of some exciting football in attack, but they may have some issues in defence as well. And if they're like the rest of them, it could be interesting. Tallis Duncan from Souths, young fellow that's got quite a few raps on him. Looks like he's definitely built for first grade rugby league. We'll see how he goes this weekend. And KO Weeks, we've seen him. He's got a lot of skill, a lot of pace, and how Schuster backs up from last week. It's all these sort of new combinations and guys that haven't played a lot of first grade coming in this weekend. It's got me the most interested.
You mentioned Tristan Saylor in there as well?
I did, yes.
Beautiful. I am going to, well, I sort of agree. Luke Metcalf's got me frothing a little bit. I just want to see what he brings to the table, given a proper crack. So he's my first thought. And I think getting back to Redcliffe, putting a job on there in front of an excited crowd will be... will upset Action Bailey, but will be a nice way to start a pretty cruisy weekend, actually. All right, the punting disaster class. What do you got for us, Barn, or how'd we go last week?
Yeah, we've dropped $50 again. We're just going through it there. We have only lost half of our money, which is something, I suppose. But at the moment, you're at minus $260 for the season, and I'm at minus $272.50 after, what's that, 12 $50 bets this year. I'm going to go with Manly, 1 to 12. Throwing it out there with the upset. I'm going to have $30 on that at $4.40. For some shits and giggles, I'm going to go with Sivo and Asako, both first try scorers. So I'm going to have a first try scorer multi there, $46.50.
Wow.
For those two to score the first try, I'm going to have $10 on that. And Campbell Graham in the Souths game, first try scorer at $12. That'll have my last $10 on that one.
I'm going to play a straight bet, which apparently doesn't work this season either. So, but we'll see how we go. I'm going to go Souths minus the line, which is 2.5, which seems extraordinarily short to me. Into the Dolphins minus the line, which is 5.5. You're getting $4 for that. I think $50 on that will get us back on track.
Ooh.
Cool. Thank you, Aunt.
Thank you, mate.
We'll catch up Sunday to do it all again. Perhaps even watch that interesting game on Sunday afternoon, but we'll talk about that. Check out all the good stuff, Rugby League merch, PCTC, and subscribe, leave some feedback, leave us a like, leave us a review.
Absolutely.
Yeah, do that stuff.
Tell us what we're right and wrong and all the rest of it. Create a conversation. We'll get involved.
For sure. All right, take it easy, guys. We'll talk to you over the weekend. Bye-bye.